William Gerald Golding, the author of Lord of the Flies, was born in Cornwall, England on September 19, 1911. He graduated from college in 1935, joined the Royal Navy in favor of his role as schoolmaster at Bishop Wordsworth School in 1940, and participated in World War II until the Allied forces claimed victory in 1945. He resumed his position in teaching post-war and remained there until 1961, time during which he published Lord of the Flies. The literature of the time period, shortly after World War II ended, was mostly about social change, cultural upheaval, and post-war optimism. Authors of the time expressed their predictions, hopes, and worries about the future through their works. Many people were somewhat used to war at this point, as used to war as one can get without phasing it from the mind, and shared these authors' worries. The social tension and fear of spies, Cold War, and other threats relating to the recently ended conflict is shown very well through Lord of the Flies. The book begins shortly after a plane crash into an isolated, remote island with no signs of life. The pilot or pilots of the aircraft have been shot down and presumably killed near instantly, only giving enough time to steer the plane towards said island. The main cast is soon brought into the story as Ralph, Piggy, Jack in the Choir, and a gaggle of toddlers. Ralph is obnoxious and arrogant upon introduction. Piggy is smart but meek and weak-minded, and Jack is uptight and self-absorbed. Ralph declares himself as leader of the group, calling himself the chief, and all the boys become excited. Someone mentions putting a fire on the mountain and all scatter, rushing to build and light it. However, the fire spreads out of control, burns an ugly scar into the forest, and a child goes missing. This is what makes the seriousness of the situation finally set in for the boys, but that heavy heart doesn't do much for their future prospects. Tensions begin to rise as some boys shirk off responsibility, disregard designated toilet areas, and begin to be unhappy with Ralph trying his best to lead them. People start fraying at the edges, patience and hope beginning to rub far too thin as time and time passes with no spotting of a passing ship or plane. After what appears to be months of waiting and keeping the fire burning, a ship finally sails close enough to see the signal. With dawning dread, Ralph realized the fire had died while the hunters were supposed to be tending to it. This is when everything starts to fall apart. Over weeks, Jack and Ralph's dislike for each other grows. The boys start to lose hope, and with it, their will to be civilized. The divide between the two split the group apart, where Jack decided he was better to lead than Ralph was, who had become much more mature and level-headed throughout his time as the chief. During this time of strife, the climax, Simon bears witness to the metaphorical coronation of the Lord of the Flies, the severed head of a pig mounted atop a stick sharpened on both ends. Only Piggy, Sam, and Eric, and the small children stay with Ralph. Jack and those who go with him become violent savages, killing Piggy and forcing Sam and Eric to join them. Jack declares that Ralph is new prey, and everyone hunts him down for almost a full day, burning down the whole forest to get to him. Ralph runs and hides like a rabbit with a wolf on its tail, and is about to be cornered when he runs into a Navy officer on the shore of the island. Ralph cries in relief and mourning and everything in between for his safety, for his true friend Piggy, and all the innocents lost on that island. The way that Ralph's mindset shifts throughout the story is a very drastic yet important change. In the beginning, he is cocky, confident, and never stumbles over a single word. His charisma and charming presence allows him to easily sway the masses to his side. He frequently talks over, ignores, or berates Piggy for his perceived flaws. As time goes on, however, Ralph becomes more introspective and considerate. He is no longer the same boy he used to be, full of life and jolliness and naivety. He thinks about the consequences of his and others' actions, goes through diplomacy rather than coercion, and does his absolute best to keep everyone alive. This positive change is contrasted by his increasing ferality and frequently slipping mind, forgetting his reason and motivation to go on. I very much enjoyed reading Lord of the Flies. The book challenged my sense of morality and logic, and how steadfast I would hold on to those traits in a setting where my peers were all pressuring me to leave behind my civility. I got the message that people need to work together to stay strong, and when we turn against each other, we fall to superstition, paranoia, delusions, and violence. I don't think the author got the message across in the right way, as many people seem to believe that the moral of the story is that humans will fall to depravity in the absence of a greater authority. I think that, if the time period were slightly different, then the events of the novel would not have gone down how they did. If there was no war for the children to learn from, then they wouldn't have resorted to war themselves. I very much recommend reading this book if you are willing to think about the wider circumstances than just the island itself, just as lessons are best learned by those who consider the big picture.